Hi, I'm Nathan Morley. Welcome to this special programme on home and travel about the legal aspects of buying a property in Cyprus. And we're delighted to have in the studio with us today UK barrister at law, well-known property expert here in Cyprus. It's YIANNOS Georgiades. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's a pleasure to be here, Nathan.
Can we proceed with all of the relevant issues? Because it is a bit of a minefield, isn't it?
Yes, of course. Before we proceed, I would like to tell the viewers that this is a general information. And if they really want to have a peace of mind, they should appoint a lawyer to represent them before they buy property. You must remember that it's better to pay some money to a lawyer to keep you out of trouble rather than paying a lot of money to get you out of trouble.
Absolutely good advice. Now, what are the fundamental differences between buying a property in Cyprus and buying a property in the United Kingdom?
I would like to say that generally the Cyprus law is based on English law. And with regard to the procedure of buying property in Cyprus, it's very similar to the English procedure. Can
you tell us more about that procedure? What does it entail?
Yes, basically a lawyer would need to carry out a search of the land registry to make sure that there are no any charges or mortgages attached to the property and confirm the ownership. And then the terms of the contract need to be negotiated between the vendor and the purchaser. Once this is done, then they sign the contract and we file it with the land registry.
So why is it so important to file with the land registry?
It is very important because by filing in with the land registry, you prevent the vendor from selling the property to a third party or even mortgaging it again. And also, you have a right to ask for specific performance if the vendor does not wish to carry on with the transfer of the title on your name. This means that you can force him through the court to transfer on your name. If you don't file the contract, you don't have these rights. And it's important that you file this contract within 2 months from the day of signing the contract.
Now, there have been some limited restrictions with foreigners buying property in Cyprus in the past, and now Cyprus, since May 2005, has been part of the European Union. Are there any changes, any more rules and regulations in the pipeline?
Generally, a foreigner who wants to buy property in Cyprus must apply to the Council of Ministers for a permit. Since we joined the EU, May 2004, most of the restrictions for European citizens have been lifted. Non-resident Europeans, though, still have to apply for this permit. The resident Europeans will not need to apply for this permit, and also any European who is buying property for investment purposes will not have to apply.
How complicated is this process?
Well, it's very simple, and the license is readily given. It's, I would say, a mere formality within a month from the day you file the application.
Now, can the purchaser then sell the property before completion?
Of course. I mean, the purchaser is considered to be the beneficial owner, even when he doesn't have the titles on his name. He can still sell the property and he can deal with the property any way he likes.
What kind of initial taxes or payments must a UK buyer expect?
The buyer has to pay stamp duty, and this is the stamps that you put on your contract for the purpose of being entitled to file it with the land registry and use it in court later if is necessary. This duty is 0.15% on up to £100,000 and 0.25% over £100,000. The buyer also will have to pay transfer fees once the title is ready to be transferred on his name. And these fees are 3% on up to £50,000, 5% up to £100,000, and 8% over £100,000. I would like to point out here, if I may, that the buyers, if there are two, they can save some money if they register the property on both names. This is because each buyer will pay percentage on his share. And just to give you an example, if the property worth £100,000, then each buyer would pay 3% on 50,000 rather than paying 3% up to 50,000 and then 5% on the rest of the money.
And what level of legal fees should buyers expect?
Legal fees vary depending on the lawyer, but usually they are between £900 and £1,500.
Yiannis, can you tell us if there are any other fees involved?
Well, the buyer has to pay an annual fee, the so-called immovable property tax. This is a very nominal amount, and the buyer will pay up to 100,000. He will not pay anything, and from 100,000 to 250,000, he will pay 2.5%, and from 250 to 500,000, he will pay 3.5%, and over 500,000, he will pay 4%. I would like to point out here that this amount is nominal because they calculated according to the market value of the property in 1980 and not the current market value. Another fee that a buyer will have to pay annually is the municipal taxes, sewage, rubbish collection, which are not exceeding £100 a year. They're very nominal again. Also, it's important to know that as from the 1st of May 2004, there is a 15% VAT on the property, but this applies only to properties that the developer or the contractor apply for a planning permit after 1st of May 2004. Those who apply before, they don't carry VAT, even if the permit is not issued yet or it wasn't issued after the accession to the European Community.
Now, properties in Cyprus have gone up in value over the past few years, in fact, incredible amounts of value. I suppose a lot of people wonder what the situation and the rules are regarding capital gains tax.
Capital gains tax is 20% on the profits you're making, and the first £10,000 are exempt. There are some other allowances, such as the transfer fees that the buyer pays, the inflation, and the cost that he paid for additions in his house. If the buyer resides in the house for 5 years before he sells the house, then the first 50,000 are exempt.
And that leads nicely onto that old chestnut, inheritance tax.
Well, inheritance tax, there is no inheritance tax in Cyprus, thank God.
Which is great news, isn't it? Now, are there any other tax incentives we should know about?
Yes, the pensioners who retire here in Cyprus, they are eligible according to the double tax agreement we have with UK. As you know, Cyprus has signed a lot of double tax agreements with a lot of countries, but specifically the UK one has a benefit for the pensioners because they can remit their governmental or private pension here in Cyprus, and there is only 5% taxation on the amount of they bring in Cyprus, and this also includes any money they bring from other sources. And there is a £2,000 exemption. So before they tax the 5%, then on the first 2,000 there is nothing. This is a very good benefit for the pensioners, and also there is no any withholding tax in UK.